All right. Um, this is going to be my first video on YouTube. And hi, my name is the lame Indian vibe coder. And today I was thinking of starting a video series to see if I can, you know, uh, if I can look into creating an application that would help. um work on my passion, and this application would be called as the StingyHubby dot xyz as at the moment, but maybe in the future might get a better domain. For now, I think I'm gonna go a little bit stingy on this, and I'm trying to go keep it at xyz. And however, you can also access the website from stingyhubby.vercel.app, and this is my home page. And um, today the goal of this video would be to kind of go through the application and then also go through the source code and see what has been done till now. And later on, the goal of this series is for me to kind of go through every new feature that I'll be building on this application, and then using vibe coding actually. So I have, if you look at my screen, I have chat gpt. My wife has a premium account, so I'm using that one at the moment, and I have a few things within my account. So I have the stingy hubby folder, and then within that I have my, usually when I go through coding, I will try to put in some prompts within ChatGPT, and then it would give me some suggestions on what I can do, or how I can go about adding those features within the application. Now, throughout the time period, ChatGPT is keeping track of all the files and all the code that has already been done, and then on top of it's building on top of that. So it's helping me give more suggestions, and it's basically a guide for me to complete my application. So without further ado, let's go and look into the application. So currently the application is stingyhubby.vercel.app. Now we'll go through why it is called vercel.app. But yeah, that's the name Stingy Hubby. That is what I was thinking about at the moment. Now the word Stingy Hubby comes from my wife. My wife wanted me to, I've always been a very thrifty person, a very frugal guy in terms of finances. And my wife is not like that. She has a opposite mindset. So at that point, there used to be instances where she used to think of buying something or getting something, and I would be the person who would be like, no, we let's wait for it. And that's the time when I got that kind of subtitle called as the, or a alias, that would be the Stingy Hubby, and she used to call me Stingy at that time. So today, when I was thinking of building the app, maybe a couple of weeks back, the idea, I was thinking about a name for the application, and what would be like an appropriate name for this. And for me, I thought this Stingy Hubby title would be a good appropriate name for the application. Now it's more about being stingy, being very cautious on what you're spending money on, and then saving as much as possible. And then in the end result of all that is like you would be in a better position in the future. Now the second line for this application is something that I grabbed from my another passion, that is to listen to podcasts. Now I listen to a podcast called the Clark Howard Post podcast, and he, in that podcast, is very informational about everyday activities in life, and he's a big influence for me. So uh, whenever I look into, when I was looking for a second line, I always remembered what Clark Howard always says before ending his podcast. He would always say, save more, spend less, and live rich. So that's the line I have at the bottom here. And then this is the home page of the application. So now I would look into the sign in feature of this application first. Let's look into it. So for that, I'll sign out first. if when you look into the sign in application, you have two areas. One would be a sign in with Google. So this implements OAuth implementation, and you would be able to click on it, and you would be able to go to Google Auth, and you would be able to use your existing Google applications, Google accounts, and then you will be able to log in into it. So let's click on one of the account. So once I clicked on gapisgod@gmail.com, I was able to sign in gapisgod@gmail.com. Now this was the Google authentication that was implemented for this application. I implemented it 2 weeks ago. Another one is a email password authentication. So for the email password authentication, what we will do is, I had created one account a week back, so I'll reuse the username and password for that. And I am a human, so this is a captcha feature that I implemented a week back. Along with this, initially it was only a simple user email and password login, but now I also added Edge captcha. Edge captcha is one of the free services that ChatGPT recommended when I wanted to include captcha and discourage bots within the system so that they wouldn't be able to log in and do a denial of service attack on the system. So that's when I implemented this, and now with this widget I'm able to convey to the system that I'm a human, and then I'm able to sign in into the application, and that way I'm able to sign in with the email ID that I had implemented. So that is my login feature. Now let's go back. Let me sign in with the Google account and use another account that I have. Now these users that have signed in within the application are now also logged in into my backend. I don't have a backend server running in this case. So what I do is I use the Supabase. Supabase is one of the accounts that I have, or one of the backend application, or you can call it platform as a service. Now the Supabase gives us database capabilities, like have certain tables within it, and then also gives you authorization capabilities, like for example for people to log in into the system and have user sessions within the system. And maybe in the future, I am not familiar at the moment, but maybe storage and something real time. I still have to know what these two are about, but I definitely know what the database and the authorization is. So before we go back to the application, let's look at the database and authorization. So I have 5 tables over here on the top. Let's go into the tables. Now, based on initially, I did not have any tables. So as the time went by, I had certain priorities. I had certain feature lists that I had implemented. Now the latest list is listed as you can see on the screen, and I am going through them one by one with help of ChatGPT, and then uh, based on that, initially I wanted to have a functionality for us to submit requests. Now I realize that it's better for me to go into the application first to give a user point of view of this, and then later on I can show you the database behind it. So we'll come to the UI again. This is the home page. Now as a user, I would want to submit certain data within it. So I have as a this is mostly one part of this application, or one major feature of this application is that a user can periodically come on this page and enter certain information about his finances, her finances, and then once that information is saved in the database, then we would have certain metrics, like we would have goals assigned, we would have a financial history, we would also have an expense breakdown. So let's look into this at the moment. Let me enter certain values. Imagine income, I have $3,000. Then emergency, I have $15,000. Health, I have $30,000. And then retirement, I have $85,000. And Then credit cards are 1500 per month, then mortgage would be 4400, card payments would be $1000, and utilities would be around $150. So I have filled in most of the details that I can recollect for all the fields. And yeah, yes, in the future, based on certain feature requests that we would get, we would be able to expand this field and have add more fields and more categories into the system. So for now, I also want, before I would go ahead, I would like to show you another page that I have. So I have included a submit feedback page. Now it does two things within it. It does a feature request and it does a bug report. So as a user on the system, you can do a feature request on the system. Like for example, you can say uh, add more fields in form, and then I can also have a similar, let me copy this and paste it on the description, and then I would submit this as a user. So this gets submitted, the feedback submitted successfully. Now where do I see this as a developer of this application? I go back to my database, and within database I have a feedback table. So within that feedback table, now I have a new record coming in into this table under the user ID. The user ID is starting with D0. So let me go back and I should have a users table. So let me go back to project settings, and here I should general settings, or maybe not there. I used to see a users table somewhere. Let me see where it is. um Users, and then there is a D0 over here. Yeah, this is the users table. A D0 is going to be Gaurav Palande 147. That would be me. And then under feedback, it mentions that this user has, or me, I myself have added a feature into the system which has a following title and following description, and the status is open. Now maybe in the future I might think about, adding a mechanism where I can close this feature requests. So right now I can add this, and also again I can go to the UI and I can do a bug report. For example, I'm doing something and submission is not working. Also I would say form submission not working, and I can have something like this included into include the description, and then we submit it. So when I submit it, I should be able to go back to the database, and now I have another entry come in under the same user ID, and it is of the type bug, and this would be like form submission not working. And yeah, the title is concise, but the description, I would prefer the description being a little bit more descriptive by nature, and then I would be able to understand what exactly went wrong. And it's in the open status at the moment. So as I make certain entries within the system, they get saved inside the database at the backend, and that is a Supabase database that I have. Then afterwards I have, again I go back to the UI, and we go back to where we started. We were at the update finance. Now all the fields have obviously gone, they have all obviously were cleared up. So now let's put everything back again. Let's see, I'm going to use pre-filled fields. Let's see, emergency 6000, and then the third one usually is something that I like. So number third is one. Yeah, let me put in utilities. Oh, $500 utilities. So what I do is I'm going to submit this request, or finance update that I have, that kind of tells the system that today on the 22nd of June I have submitted list of values of my current state of finances to this application. So when I submit it, it takes some time, it blanks out, and maybe we have a feature request in the future where we would have maybe pop-ups or alerts, screen alerts in the middle that would say, oh, information has been saved, or we would have a loading flag, a loading animation, and then after some time, once the loading is done, we would be able to see a confirmation message, and then we would be able to have this submitted. So yeah, that's within my feature list that I had created at one point, so I will come back to that later. And for now it gets submitted. And where do we see it? We will see at the backend side. As a developer, I'll see it in my application. So for that I have to go to my submissions. Now I have my submissions coming in over here. So sorry about that, submissions. And in submissions we have an entry that is on the 22nd of June, and there's an entry which has certain values within the field. So yes, I can see 85,000, I can see 6,000 over here, and I can see car payments, income, and this field is, I will come to the suggestion field, but before that, this field, when I go through the code, I'll come to the suggestion field, but for now we have an entry within the system. Now let me go back to the UI. Let me go back to the UI and see that when we look at the financial history, I should see a new entry or row added below, and that would be on the June 22nd, and I would be able to see a chart associated with that, and that chart will show that initially, like I was testing before, so initially my retirement was $4 for testing purposes. Now that retirement amount has become $85,000, and I can see that graph going up slowly, and that's a good, I feel it's a good way of, kind of letting the users know that over the time period the strategy that they are using is growing, and it's showing a upward trend within your savings and retirements. And so this is a good chart. I like this. It helps you visualize your progress. So that's the screen number 3 for me. So today I'm going to stop my recording now, and I am going to continue this later on when I get time. This is a passion project. This is not something I'm bound to. This is not something I want to make into a career or anything. I don't have ulterior motives on this one. It's just a passion project. It's just something that I want to share with everybody, and I want to see how I can grow as a developer, and also address my passion of being a financial advisor and think about finances in the personal finances in the future. So let's see, there are other features coming in, so maybe in the next video I might go through the other pages on the sidebar, as well as the other tables in the database, and also certain other features that I'm doing that. And I also would want to give a Easter egg saying that there's ChatGPT in this application. I haven't displayed it as of yet, but yeah, there are a couple of areas where I'm using ChatGPT. So we'll get to see those in the next video. Thank you so much for being there. Have a good rest of the day. Bye bye.